This story comes to us from NPR.org. Going to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Was that good? Am I getting my French down? The FBI said Friday it has opened civil rights investigations into allegations in recent lawsuits that police in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, assaulted drug suspects they detained in an obscure warehouse known as the Brave Cave. Wow, that's scary. The Brave Cave. That reminds me of like the LA Sheriff's Department with their gangs. You know, their gangs and the killers and was it the rebels or the homies or whatever they were. But it's almost like now, in Baton Rouge, we have the Brave Cave where they take them. Well, in one case, a man says he was taken to the warehouse and beaten so severely he needed hospital care before he was booked into jail. In another, a woman claims she was strip searched with an officer using a flashlight to scan her body. Now, since the first complaint was filed last month, the city's mayor has ordered the facility closed. The police department has disbanded its street crimes unit, and an officer at the center of the allegations resigned and was arrested on a simple battery charge. He is the son of a current deputy chief. Which begs the question, was he like one of those intolerant sons that did his own thing? Or is this learned behavior? Does the apple fall far from the tree? Son of a current deputy chief. That doesn't look good. FBI officials confirmed Friday that the agency has opened an investigation based on allegations that members of the department may have abused their authority. No kidding. Really? Cops abusing their authority? Get out of here. This latest scandal adds to a long list of corruption and misconduct allegations plaguing the Baton Rouge Police Department, which I've done stories on this department in the past, which came under significant scrutiny following the 2016 fatal police shooting of Alton Sterling. Remember the Alton Sterling incident? He was a 37-year-old black man that was shot by police. In 2021, a corruption probe into the department's narcotics division led to criminal charges and internal discipline against officers accused of stealing drugs from evidence and lying on police reports. I believe that's one of the editorials that I did on the Baton Rouge Police Department. Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul, who was hired to lead the agency in the wake of Sterling's killing, Alton Sterling, said he was so concerned over the recent warehouse claims that he drove to the FBI's New Orleans office field division and asked them to review the allegations. This police chief of his department was so concerned with this, he does not speak into the officers. He drove to the New Orleans FBI office and said, look, I got something I need you to look into. So if you say, who's the whistleblower? The police chief. He's doing a good thing, by the way, by blowing this over. And some people, and I'm probably being cynical here as well, some people are going to blame it and say, why didn't the police chief just take care of it? The union. I just thought of that. That, maybe this police chief's hands are tied because of the union, and he knows that if he tries to do something, these cops are just going to go to the union and go, hey, we're being targeted, man. This ain't right. We're the street crimes unit, so they're going to come after us, and the union, is going to protect these guys. So the chief does the right thing. He goes to the FBI and goes, I think these guys are violating people's civil rights. Paul, this Chief Murphy Paul, told Associated Press, acknowledging that his Internal Affairs Division initially failed to investigate, he said, there were some mistakes made. I promise you we will get to the bottom of this. Now, the most recent lawsuit, which attorneys filed this week on behalf of Turnell Brown, who alleges officers pulled her over in June, took her to the Brave Cave, and strip searched her for contraband. She was released without charges when officers concluded the prescription drugs in her possession were legal. That's a Fourth Amendment violation. That's cut and dry. probably 14th Amendment too, right? Correct me, some of you attorneys. Her attorneys wrote in the lawsuit they are still learning of the full horror of what the street crimes unit did there. Even those who were not beaten at the torture warehouse we now know were still sexually humiliated. The officer who resigned, the son of the current deputy chief, is Troy Lawrence Jr. He's been the subject of several civil rights lawsuits and excessive force complaints in recent years. His father, Troy Lawrence Sr., was promoted to deputy chief in 2020 after commanding the street crimes unit, which went by the acronym BRAVE for Baton Rouge Area Violence Elimination. They're only brave because they have a badge, they have a gun, and they have authority to use both. That's the only thing that makes them brave, in my humble opinion. But you see, Troy Lawrence Sr. was also in the street crimes unit, and he's now deputy chief. His son, Troy Lawrence Jr., street crimes unit officer. Again, like I said, is this a learned behavior, or is his son just one of those crazies that goes off and does his own thing? It's just a hypothetical question, but it's a good question, right? It's one that, because he's still current deputy chief. And if this is a learned behavior of his son, who did he learn it from? See what I'm saying? Now, it was not clear whether Lawrence Jr. had an attorney who could comment on his behalf, but an email was sent to the police union seeking comment. It wasn't answered. It won't be answered. It's an ongoing lawsuit investigation. According to a lawsuit filed last month, he repeatedly turned off and muted his body camera during his interactions with Jeremy Lee, the suspect who ended up hospitalized with broken bones and other injuries. Inside the warehouse, officers punched and kicked him while he screamed for help, the lawsuit alleges. After he was violently interrogated and arrested, the only criminal charge prosecutors pursued was resisting arrest. That's it. How can you resist arrest when there's no crime? Well, the crime was resisting arrest. For what crime? This guy was beaten, punched, kicked, screamed for help, and all he was charged with was resisting arrest. But it just makes me wonder how many people get abused by cops and the only charge they come up with is resisting arrest. No obstruction or theft or assault or just resisting arrest. Arrest for what? Because this pisses me off that people are out there getting abused by cops who are supposed to be helping the community. But they become bullies, they become gang members, they become thugs, they become destroyers of people's lives. And on that note, coming this week, stay tuned to my channel because I'm going to be doing a story. One of Sandra Bland's family members becomes a cop. Now, you know Sandra Bland, if you're not familiar with her, she was the one that was arrested by the police, taken to the jail, and then later that night, she was found dead. And that was a huge blow up. But one of her family members became a cop. Come back to this one. Shortly after Lee's lawsuit was filed, Baton Rouge Mayor Sharon Weston Broom ordered the warehouse closed, saying she was previously unaware of its existence. And she probably was. They were keeping her in the dark. She's the mayor. We ain't telling the mayor about this. Mayor Sharon Weston Broom said, "The severity of these allegations deeply concerns me, especially given the potential impact on the trust our community places in us." Thomas Frampton, an attorney representing both Lee and Brown, said his team has heard from dozens more people alleging abuse inside the warehouse, and they plan to file additional lawsuits. He said, this is Thomas Frampton, the attorney, praising the FBI's decision to launch an investigation. This kind of misconduct is so entrenched that people had little reason to expect any kind of positive change. It's never going to change anyway. It's not. As long as police departments continue to train these guys to be aggressive, offensive bullies, it's never going to change. Because it seems like cops are taught, whenever you see somebody in the sidewalk, give them a directive. Because you're a cop and you're supposed to let people know that you're in charge of the city. It's almost like that. Like cops, you're just standing there with a camera and they go, all right, don't come up here, because if you come up here, you're interfering. Like, okay, well, don't pee on your dog when you go home. Don't kick your cat, okay? Don't slap your spouse. Just go home and be nice. That's how that sounds. It's so stupid. And I'm going to get some bootlickers that go, well, sounds like you got some issues against the cops. I do, when they kill people like Elijah McClain and Manuel Ellis and beat people like these guys. I do have issues with that. Now, the good cops, and I know people always disagree with me on good cops. It's okay. It's fine to disagree with me. Hey, I welcome it. But the cops that I feel are good cops, they're out there doing the right thing. They're trying to do the right thing. I know a lot of cops that I walk up and fist bump in a heartbeat. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? All right. There are some good guys out there in uniform. But you know what? These bad cops, they're disgracing the uniform. They're bringing shame to your profession. Cops in California always tell me, anytime I bring up Colorado or Texas or New York, they go, well, we're trained differently in California. But you know what? People don't see it that way. Somebody kills Manuel Ellis in Seattle, Washington. People in California, Colorado, Utah, New York, all see that on the news, and they say all cops are bad. See? They don't care about how you're trained in this state or trained in that state. The only thing people care about is you got a uniform on and you got a badge on your chest. You're just like the cops in Minnesota. No, we're trained differently. They don't care about that. All they see is a uniform with a badge on it. And you know how you change that? You walk up to them and you go, hey, how you doing, man? Anything I can do for you? No? All right. And if they cuss you out, go, I hope you have a better day. That's how you change the community. That's how you change your culture. Officer Norman, is it Tommy Norman, right? I love that guy. He's from Arkansas. And he treats everybody with such loving respect. I just want to give the guy a hug. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tommy Norman out of Arkansas. Google him. I want to give that guy a hug. He's one of the best cops I've ever seen. And I'm subscribed to his Instagram and his Facebook. I love that guy. But going to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, they've closed the Brave Cave. And now they're going to investigate the Brave Bunch.